Our critics are our friends. While in grad school, I met a friend of a friend. This person was unlike any of my other friends and associates. All my other friends tended to fall into one of two categories. One, people who were openly Christian, or two, people who were probably some form of agnostic but reasonably neutral and respectful of their more Christian associates. This was more or less true of most friends and acquaintances. That is, until I met Jim. Jim started a whole new class of friends and associates, namely those who are, three, openly derogatory toward Christianity. The man seemed to have no filter over his mouth. He could see something like a Christian plaque or the title of a book and couldn't help but blurt out something insulting about the ignorance of the person who wrote it, etc. This occurred even when he might have to ask you for a favor or otherwise was on the receiving end of social graces and hospitality. Besides this, Jim was unlike any of my other friends, for he was the only one who had any interest in the occult. Strangely enough, his interest was less in the practical end of trying to use the occult as some kind of tool, like many try to use it to help them in romance, to earn more money, etc., rather than being interested in such things as spellcasting, dowsing rods, horoscopes, and so on. This person was, for the most part, only interested in what is termed theosophy, the philosophical end of the occult. And at the time, I really thought that was bonkers, because not only was I in the charismatic movement, but I was in the really applied area of it, the faith and prosperity movement, the prophetic movement that emphasized personal prophecy and other kinds of spiritual gifts like healing, etc. Anyway, one interesting thing happened one night when my group of friends was gathered around to watch one of our favorite science fiction shows of the day, probably Babylon 5, or if not that, The X-Files. My best friend Stan, who got me into the charismatic movement, had this one-upmanship insult feud going on with Jim, because Jim could be very pompous and condescending, even given his very humble station in life, working minimum survival jobs and just barely managing to not be homeless. And Stan had managed to get his goat on some issue, and Jim was looking to even the score somehow. So while waiting for the show to begin, he made this challenge against my friend and his Christian faith.
In the Bible, especially the Old Testament, God appears as fire. Why is that?
And my friend basically just tried to hush him up and not have him spoil the TV show group bonding experience. But I was personally fascinated by the question, because as a kid I went to Christian parochial schools, and as a student in elementary school through middle and even high school, I had actually been through the entire Bible a number of times. I really noticed that theme and wondered about it. I think I concluded that fire itself was just a kind of neat symbol of something that is both spiritual or ethereal, but also something that affects our physical world in various obvious ways. But to continue the story, my friend Stan continued to ignore Jim, but I was really looking forward to hearing the answer. I sort of already knew what it would be, because I knew Jim bought into some of the older, higher critical theory of the Bible, that monotheistic faith originally descended from polytheistic paganism. But to get to the punchline, Jim said it is because Abraham came from Ur of the Chaldees, and the god they worshipped was a fire god. And that really blew me away in a good way. I basically got a kind of head start into considering the Near Eastern background of the Bible a good 20 to 25 years before Michael Heiser became big on YouTube. I will say this: Being also a fan of Seth Godin and his advice on building careers from creative work, you do need to be careful about who you accept criticism from, because a lot of criticism cannot be very helpful, sometimes even malicious, but sometimes there are some good truth nuggets in there to look for. I think I could accept that better because I did spend some time studying Taoism and learning to try to glean positive lessons from negative experiences. But as Christians, we should consider the passage about iron sharpens iron and think about how to improve ourselves. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe.